Hello Breath of Fire fans, this is Hellfire RPGs and welcome back to my Breath of Fire Binge where I'm playing through the entire series from start to finish. Breath of Fire 4 is the only title in the series that I played as a kid. I loved it back then, but I'm going to be honest, I really don't remember too much about it. You know what it's like getting old, or maybe you don't. Many people consider this one as the best in the series, and I can see why. There are many things that it does better than Breath of Fire 3, which I loved, however I also felt that it took a step backwards in a few areas. But as a whole, is it a better experience than its prequel? That's a tough one, so let's take a look. Breath of Fire 4 starts off with Nina and Cray shipwrecked in the middle of the desert when Nina comes across a large dragon who transforms into a young man. As you would expect, this is Ryu, and he doesn't remember anything, so he decides to tag along with Nina. Meanwhile, the ancient emperor Fu Lu rises from his burial chamber after hundreds of years with the intention of retaking the world. Breath of Fire 4 follows on with the unique style of storytelling as seen in Breath of Fire 3, but this time through two different point of views. I did like this style, and the story was interesting enough without being revolutionary. I'm not sure that it's a step up from Breath of Fire 3, but one thing for sure is that it's way more cinematic. Rather than a static camera looking down on the characters while a cutscene plays out, Breath of Fire 4 takes a much more cinematic approach with a moving camera. This really helps add to the excitement of key scenes, particularly the ones that feature the dragons. It also helps that the art style is sensational. Just like Breath of Fire 3, the visual style really is timeless and still looks great 20 years on. Unfortunately, even these timeless visuals weren't enough to make up for the horrendous camera view. Honestly, this was the worst part of Breath of Fire 4 for me. Here, we have a camera that can rotate 360 degrees from 4 different angles. The amount of times that I was forced to stop, press the rotate button so I could see my character again, then proceed, often seemed like an unnecessary waste of time. It didn't help that the cities were designed to span a small area with loads of vertical buildings. It felt like I spent more time rotating the camera than actually exploring here. For the first time in series history, the open-style world map is gone. Instead, navigation is achieved through clicking on various locations on the world map and watching Ryu travel on a set path. Some of my greatest memories from the PS1 era was exploring vast open land, so it was a shame to see the game take a step backwards in this regard. While the world map progression may be linear, there are still a fair few secrets to uncover. For instance, there are several map locations that will only pop up when you have exited through a specific section of an area. Other secret locations require you to talk to a specific NPC in town. I felt this was a good incentive to talk to everyone that I came across. The gameplay is something that I really felt reached its peak in Breath of Fire 4. Like the previous entry, you can control 3 party members in battle, but this time you can switch between them at any time. This provides a great incentive to use all 6 characters, particularly because switching between them doesn't come at any cost. I was a bit disappointed that customizable formations were taken out of the game. Instead, it's been replaced with having 3 characters in the front row and 3 in the back. The characters in the front row are the ones that you control, and they can take damage. Those in the back row are safe from being attacked and also recharge AP, so you may choose to send someone to the back row for multiple reasons. I really liked this system, even if it was only the final few bosses that really required me to use this system to its full potential, as the rest of the game was pretty easy. The next new big feature is the combo system. This allows your 3 characters to combine their attacks for additional damage and sometimes even new spells entirely. All in all, this is my favourite battle system in the entire series. I just wish there were more challenging boss fights spaced throughout the game. Breath of Fire just wouldn't be the same without dragons. Here, they work a lot like Breath of Fire 3, where Ryu can spend his AP to transform and then retain the form so long as he has enough AP remaining. I thought the Dragon Gene system from Breath of Fire 3 was brilliant and really wish there was something like this again. Unfortunately, Breath of Fire 4 is very limited in its transformation options. There are only 6 different forms that you can turn into, and these become unlocked when you find crystallized dragon genes around the world, which are all fairly easy to locate. Ryu's human-dragon hybrid appearance also doesn't vary when turning into dragons. I really miss actually transforming into different dragons for the entire battle, so it was underwhelming seeing just one single hybrid form. I guess the silver lining here is that if you can actually locate the dragons themselves, they'll give you a unique breath attack that Ryu can use in battle. This is awesome as it provides Ryu with some kick-ass powers without having to transform. These dragons are also quite difficult to locate, so it feels very rewarding when you actually find them. The Masters and Skills system is one of my favourite things about Breath of Fire. Basically, there are several NPCs around the world willing to teach you what they know if the right conditions are met. For For example, Cryorik will teach you a skill if you perform a 30-hit combo in one turn, and then another skill if you perform a 40-hit combo, and so on. I really liked this as it required a lot of interactivity to learn each new skill. Masters also provide unique bonuses in battle. For instance, Khan revives you to 1 HP if you're knocked out, while Stole gives you a higher chance of obtaining better items. This is great as it provides yet another factor to consider when going into battle. How could I possibly review a Breath of Fire game without discussing two of the biggest staples in the series, village building and fishing? The Fairy Village makes a return and is very similar to how it was in Breath of Fire 3, but with a few more options. This system essentially allows you to build a village by assigning different jobs to fairies based on their strengths and weaknesses. While there are more options this time, such as growing crops and choosing where each house can be located, I really don't think it was much of a step forward. Like for likeness if you ask me. Fishing on the other hand was brilliant and goes down as one of my favourite mini-games of all time. I was completely dedicated to finding all of the different fishing locations, catching every type of fish and raising my ranking to 9,500 so I could obtain the best rod in the game. The feeling of catching a massive fish after spending loads of time trying kinda resembles a teenage girl at a One Direction concert. I think the best thing here was that there was so much reward for my effort. Not only could the fish be traded in for some awesome equipment, but they also have some very useful effects if used in battle. I still don't see how it's possible to catch all of the fish without a guide, but if that's what it takes to catch them all, then I'm still a proud fisherman. It seems like only yesterday that I started up my binge with Breath of Fire 1, and now I've only got one more game to go. Breath of Fire 4 was quite clearly an awesome experience for me, but the question that I continually asked myself while playing it was, is it better than Breath of Fire 3? In many ways yes, but in other ways not so much. The awesome front row back row battle system, improvements to the masters, incredibly addictive fishing minigame, and timeless visuals are the things that really stood out for me. It was almost enough to distract me from the awkward, annoying camera angles and the dragon transformation system, which I thought was a step backwards from Breath of Fire 3. But that still doesn't answer my question. Which one is better? That is a really tough question. It's like asking which one of your children you like more. But if I had to choose, I would go with Breath of Fire 4 by the tiniest of margins. But you know, that could change next week. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. It's now time to dust off my PS2 and jump into Breath of Fire 5, which should be interesting as I've heard many conflicting opinions. See you next time.